be able to rent it out for $1,000.
Yeah.
And then I just put 1 month into vacancy. I figure out how many months are going to go into taxes. So
Which also comes with time, because like your 1 month of vacancy, for instance, if operationally you're strong there, like if you're self-managing, something like that, or if you have a manager and they're strong at it, 1 month is fine to be conservative if you want to put it in.
Yeah, it's conservative.
But I know that unless I'm renovating a property, I'm not usually going to have a month of vacancy, because I'm going to notify the tenant far enough in advance that I know if they're leaving, and then I'm going to market it while they're there. So we almost always have found we usually find a tenant before the current one vacates. So our effective vacancy on these places is far less than 5%, but it's just because operationally we're doing it the right way. And sometimes I've heard people say back to me like, well, what if the rental climate gets worse? Okay, well then I would just start giving the tenants notice 90 days ahead of time instead of 60 days ahead of time. Yeah. I would just change my practices so that I almost always had a tenant. There it is again, almost always. I almost always had a tenant right when the lease ends.
Yeah.
And then that just keeps it sandwiched. So once we put that first tenant in there, we very rarely have vacancy unless we're fixing it up. If it needs fixes, we usually just market it. We tell the tenants when they come through, you're going to have 15 days between when you leave and when the old person leaves and when you move in. So you have to delay 15 days.
Yeah. And they're usually fine with that, in my experience.
But you use a month of vacancy and
just, in the underwriting, I think pragmatically that hasn't been the case for all the reasons you described. We also just set all our leases to expire in the same month. That way it's like we know the market, we control it a lot more, so to speak. It's in the summer for us when basically we can rent them out for hire, and we have places with stairs, so they just don't show well in the winter, that kind of stuff. You don't always have control, but anyway, it's more just about not trying to keep things too tight. We want a little wiggle room because okay, fine, you can lower the vacancy, but I think pragmatically when you do the repair value estimations, for me anyway, I'm always coming under on this, even when I think I'm putting in contingency. Like, I'm just always at Home Depot spending $50 on something over here. We wind up running over. Just
you mean you go over your?
Yeah, so we buy it. We say, okay, this is what we think. This is what it rents for now. Whatever it rents. Like the first deal we did, I think the rents were like $5 and $5.50 or something, super low for the area. We were like, we could probably get these up. I think we wrote them in as 6 and 8, and now the one is renting for $7.25, and we just listed the other one for $8.25, I think.
Yeah.
And so conservative there, conservative on the vacancy as well, like we just discussed. And then we were like, oh, we'll do these improvements. And I was like, okay, it was fine, but we missed one major thing, which was this box gutter. And I also thought I was going to re-pour the stairs in the front myself. I thought I'd just patch them. But then after talking to a couple people, they were like, look, that's a liability. Just do it right. And then I don't know. So anyway, in practice, the repairs have been an area where it's hard for me to evaluate. And as someone getting in, I think you just have to know, like, the first one we kind of call the academy. Like, we're just learning. Even though the deal had room for mistakes, I guess, is especially on the first one, because we're not super efficient. And my undergrad training is in industrial engineering, which is like making conveyor belts run and all this stuff. And basically, when you're running at like 90% utilization, like everything's maxed out, if anything goes wrong, chaos just erupts. Mm-hmm. Which I think you were kind of alluding